we got Maggie, and she was a mixture of like a Shih Tzu and a Terrier. So little white, fluffy, white gray dog. We adopted her. She came, from what we understand, was in Alabama, was like found under a car. Which the hilarious story about her always is, and one of my best friends from growing up, our next door neighbor, when they brought Maggie over to meet us, we met her on the driveway and whatever, and she's like cuddled up to us, like rubbing bellies, never growls, whatever. We were like, great, like we're gonna take her, whatever. So then once we finally get her, then over the years, kind of like that mean side, that mean kind of, past trauma side came out where, like the growling and, like not biting, but like if you get close, like, I'll snap at you. And me and my friends still joke to this day, like, man, she duped us so hard. Just right when she first met us, like, was so nice. You wouldn't think she'd ever growl at anyone. And then
saw you guys coming.
Oh, she's like, those guys are suckers. Yeah, so, but Maggie turned out to be awesome. Like, yeah, she was great. As she got older, like, she became, an older, cranky lady. But, through her prime years, she was awesome. And, one of those things too, where like once she passes, it's like you feel like a family member's gone. But I think with any like dog death I've experienced, remembering them at the end isn't what I remember. Like I remember that chunk of years where they're still the dog that you're like, that's who they were.
Yeah.
For that long period of time.
And it's funny, so I think I think dogs are the greatest thing in the world.
Yeah.
Right? But then it's also like experiencing a dog's life is the greatest thing in the world, but also it's like the worst thing in the world.
Oh, the worst.
Right?
Yeah.
Because it's such short-lived.
Right.
And yet, so when you were younger and you experience that first death, it kind of hits you.
Right.
And then if you continue on with animals, I mean, it's always something that you're constantly, learning how to deal with. So I guess that, going to you here, as you're growing up, I mean, so you've had these dogs your whole childhood, and now you're. I mean, how important do you think that was for you to have those experiences? Seeing what a working dog was like, and the discipline that the working dog had, and the value that a working dog had. But then now you're switching, and now you're finally getting the experience of having that indoor dog.
Right.
I mean, did you see? And you're an athlete, so you're going through youth sports and you're doing a lot of different things. What was that like, being able to maybe come home after a bad game, or did something? I mean, did you see? Was the dog able to fill different maybe holes in your childhood or life that humans aren't able to, just from who we are? What was the dog able to do that for you, or what was it like? Or
for sure. And I think there's a few pieces like to unpack in that, where one of the first things that sticks out to me, like in terms of growing up with a working dog, and from a very young age surrounding hunting, there was the seriousness of the environment.
Danger.
Yeah, if you need to know how these things work. If you don't, like, bad things can happen, right? So then it was like, we go to gun safety training. We learn how to be around that. But I think for me, and especially like in my current job now with coaching, it's very synonymous in terms of when you're working and you're in an environment, everyone's behaving one way. But then when that's over, you can turn it off, and now we behave like this. So for me, it's very easy for me to turn my brain into, when I'm working, right? This is how you have to be.
Yes.
Right? But, okay, when work's over and, like, we're out of that environment, now, like, we can be normal people, right? So that was the same with the dogs of, like, when they're hunting, like, they're working. So that doesn't mean you cuddle them, hold them, pet them, like now we're all behaving differently because now this is work, right? And so it was the same thing, like again, growing up being around guns, like you don't play with them. Like when you're in a hunting environment, like this is how you act, this is what you do. Like you don't do this toward people or you don't toward dogs. Like this is how you all act. So then it's like,
the process.
Yes,
You're starting
like
to learn a different process
yes,
than everything else.
And you can see
as
the
a child,
world, in two different ways, right? So then it's like when we're at home, like now this dog, like now I can pet him, now I can do this, now I can do this.
So kind of understanding the boundaries.
Yes, boundaries
of life, of what is acceptable, not acceptable.
Right, and seeing people in two different lights, like. For an athlete, like they have to see a coach as like when they're in, like for us, the hockey environment, whether that's on ice or in a game, like you're gonna see a different human being, but we're working. Now, when we are at dinners, traveling, all these things, like, now you're gonna see a different human because now I'm working, but I'm being more of what people, a normal human. Right? Like I'm socializing, I'm doing this, right? But being able to flip that switch of this is the coaches coaching and this is the coaches being people connecting with us. So I think to the point of like what dogs and growing up for me, it's very easy now for me in an adult setting to know those boundaries and how to flip switches because you grow up with that, So
you think it was pretty valuable then?
Totally.
To understand it. Now, do you see people that you've interacted with that never had that opportunity to grow up with animals, to care for an animal, or let alone a working dog?
Yep.
Do you see that compartmentalize? Do you see that they lack that ability a little bit more, or do you see that people that when you can almost identify somebody like, man, that person grew up with dogs, or that person did not grow up with dogs? Are you able to see that in your world as you got older? And did you kind of have that appreciation that, man, I'm glad my dad had working dogs. I'm glad it was a cool lesson to be taught through animals that maybe I might not have learned if it was something else trying to teach me boundaries and how to turn on and turn off who I am, I guess.
Yeah, well, for sure. And because to your earlier point, like animals, for some people it's cats, whatever. Like us growing up, it's dogs, like there is an unconditional love, with that animal. And it's like animals, and again, my experience is dogs, they feel what you feel. And you have that, I can't speak to you. So all we have is what, through your eyes, through your body language, what you're doing, like that's all you can tell me. And what I give back to you is all you can tell me. So it's like a communication with an animal, in my perspective, is almost deeper than a human because we can't talk. Like I have to pick up on like, again, if you're scared, right? Like I have to read that, like Maggie, our smaller dog, terrified of thunderstorms, right? You're like the shaking, the whatever. And it's like, this being can't tell me like, this is what's scaring me, So it's like, all you can do is read them, and all they can do in the same sense of like, if a human's in danger, they can pick up on that. They know that something's not right with you. If you're sad, they know something's not right with you. So it's like you have that connection with the animal that you're like, I can't have it with a human because I can't speak to them, So in terms of people that have like grown up with pets or not, I think so. Like I think there is just a different level of how they see the world. Because, and in like very black and white sense, like in terms of how your parents may give you responsibility with a pet, right? You're like, yeah, I do. I have to go walk them. I have to pick up their, bathroom. I have to feed them. I have to make sure there's water. Like there's very like black and white responsibilities with that you're like, I do have to do this or this animal's in trouble, you know, and I know they're depending on me.
Yeah.
You know, they can't do it for themselves. So you care for them in that way. But I think like for me and people, because I didn't have a younger sibling. I have older siblings, but not younger. So I never had like this person I need to watch out for. You know, where like with an animal, you're like, those were, you know, like I'm watching out for them. You know, so you have that level, you know, of care and understanding.